Welcome to my channel where we share stories of Karens getting what they deserve. Today we have an HOA. Karen called cops after her racist son demanded my groceries from a black man. It was all caught on camera and you won't believe how it ends. The poster is the black man in question. He's a married man in his mid-30s. His wife is white and they have a young daughter who's attending preschool nearby. He goes on to say that he usually does the grocery shopping for the family. But this particular time his wife wanted to go with him, because she needed some things too. So they both decided to take a stroll down to the local market just a few blocks away from their home. He goes on to explain that their neighborhood is a pretty nice place to live. It's quiet, the yards are well kept, and most people take pride in their homes. There is one downside though, which is that there is a homeowners association, and they can be a pain in the neck sometimes. But overall, he says the neighborhood is decent. As they approach the sidewalk across the street from the store, they see a woman standing outside talking to someone on her phone. The man recognizes the woman as his neighbor, Mrs. Wilkerson, who he describes as being one of those people who would call the police on a cloud if it offended her. She was also the type of person who would complain about everything, and she was notorious for harassing anyone who did something wrong or who did do things the way she thought they should be done. His neighbor finishes her phone call and begins walking towards them. As she passes by, she says hello to the husband, but ignores his wife. Then she stops in front of them and asks where they're coming from. They tell her they were just at the store and they were heading home. She tells them that she just got off the phone with the police because someone reported seeing a suspicious black male checking car doors in the neighborhood. She tells them that she thinks it's weird that they were out at the same time as the suspect, and she suspects they were involved in whatever it was he was doing. She goes on to say that she doesn't want to point any fingers, but she thinks they should be more careful in the future because it's getting out of hand. She then walks back to her house and calls them suspicious while she's doing so. The man decides to ignore her and continues walking home. As they get closer to their home, they can hear the sound of police sirens in the distance. The man figures that Mrs. Wilkerson must have called the cops, but he's not worried because he knows he's done nothing wrong. Suddenly, his neighbor runs out of her house and screams at the top of her lungs, "Stop right there, you black animal." The man freezes and turns around to look at her. She points directly at him and accuses him of stealing her son's bicycle. She demands to know where the bike is and why he has it. At that moment, two police officers arrive and ask what's going on. Mrs. Wilkerson immediately begins yelling at the officers and tells them to arrest the man. She claims that he stole her son's brand new mountain bike and demands that they search him and find the bike. The officers turn their attention to the man and ask him if he's stolen anything. He responds by asking them if they're reaccusing him of theft, and tells them that he hasn't stolen anything, nor was he even in the area when it happened. He tells them that they should ask his wife because maybe she saw something. Mrs. Wilkerson screams at the officers, "Don't listen to him. He's trying to trick you. I know he took my son's bike. That's why he's nervous." One of the officers tells her to calm down and stop yelling. He explains that they need to hear both sides of the story before making any accusations. The man explains to the officers that he has never taken anything from her son, and that he has no idea where he could have gotten such a crazy idea. The officer then asks to see inside their home to make sure that there's no evidence that a crime has been committed. The man agrees, but his wife is hesitant. She tells the officers that they don't have to come inside and that they'll be happy to search the house themselves. The man reassures her that everything will be fine, but the officers insist on searching the house. Once inside, the officers begin searching every room while the man, his wife, and Mrs. Wilkerson watch. The man notices that his neighbor's son is standing in the doorway watching them with a smile on his face. He is tall and muscular for his age, and the man can tell that he is trying to hold back laughter. The man looks back at the officers and realizes that they haven't found anything. One of the officers finds the bike in question in the garage, and he asks who it belongs to. Mrs. Wilkerson immediately jumps up and down and tells the officers that it's hers. She goes on to explain that it was her son's bike that he rode to school every day until it was stolen. The officer tells her that he understands that it's upsetting when something like this happens, but he needs her to calm down. He assures her that they'll be going to find whoever is responsible and return the bike to her son. The man interrupts and asks if they've considered asking her son where he left the bike, because maybe it was stolen and it was just misplaced. Mrs. Wilkes snorts and tells them that her son would never lie to them. She tells him that she knows he was taking the bike to school like he always does when this couple came along and took it. The man raises an eyebrow and asks her for proof. She tells him that it must have been instinct that caused him to run away. The man shakes his head and tells them that she's acting irrationally and they should just let him go. The officer then asks the neighbor's son if he wants to talk to them, and he agrees. The officer asks him where he left his bike, and he tells them that he left it in the garage like he always does. The officer then asks him if he is sure he left the bike in the garage, and he says yes. The man asks the officer to step outside with him and his wife to talk. Once outside, the man introduces himself to the officers as the commander of the local precinct. He explains that he was off duty and just out shopping with his wife when the incident occurred. He assures them that he has no problem with them searching his house because he has nothing to hide. He thanks them for their service and tells them that they did a good job. He also apologizes for yelling at Mrs. Willison and admits that he was wrong. He then asks them to leave without further delay. The officers leave and the man turns to his neighbor and asks if she has any comments. She tells him that he should be ashamed of himself for lying to them and trying to steal her son's bike. He tells her that he is not going to argue with her and that he wants her to leave him alone. She demands that he return her son his bike and threatens to call the cops again if he doesn't. He tells her that she should uncall the cops unless she has a real emergency, because he is not stealing her son ES bike. He then opens the door for her and asks her to leave. She leaves and slams the door behind her. The man then turns to his son and tells him that he is proud of him for staying calm and collected when confronted by the police. He gives him a hug and tells him that he loves him. He then turns to his wife and tells her that he couldn't be more proud of her for staying calm and collected during such a stressful situation. He tells her that she's beautiful and he loves her more than anything in the world. And that's the end of the story. If you like this content, check out my page where I publish extra spicy versions of these stories. Also hit that subscribe button because I put out new videos every single day.